Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 38 of the Jaded Talk. And finally, after what feels like was months of Young Jedi Knights,
That's because it was.
that's because it might have been actually just months. Yeah. Finally, after so much time wasted on shit content, we are talking about a book that's actually pretty good. It's okay. It's fine. We're going to talk about Rogue Planet. Yeah, I guess in general, like maybe you have some introductory thoughts about this book. I mean, we kind of spoke about it already, but yeah,
I like it. I like it a lot. It's
yeah,
it's really nice. It's a nice, fast, enjoyable read.
precisely, yeah. It knows that it doesn't have that many things to say, and therefore the length is entirely
Which I
appropriate.
assume is where the Tarkin chapters came from,
Possibly, yeah,
just to
but
pad it out a little bit. But that's okay. I like the Tarkin chapters too. So
yeah, they were funny, they were cool, kind of. Not always perfect, but yeah, it was okay. Like it's a weird because yeah, we talked about this that there's some kind of negative fixation on this book for no particular reason, I feel like. And it seems weird to fixate this much on this book because it's actually just okay to good. Like it's fine. Like you should at some point give it a read because it's perfectly acceptable and good. Yeah. Wait, what? Danger filled planet. I mean, I
yeah, I could see that.
yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. I'm watching, but you're on mute because I'm on a Zoom call. Well, have fun. Represent your company. Uh, yeah. So I guess let's just start with this. I'm gonna speak about the cover. The cover is okay. It's uh, it's a Photoshop. See, episode 1, Obi-Wan. I mean, it briefly plays after, like, very briefly after Phantom Menace. We have a kind of weird looking Anakin. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be like one half of a face and then a different kind of face here, or if it's just
I just
badly
thought it was
edited.
bad Photoshop.
Yeah, probably. Uh, we have a green lightsaber because yeah, Obi-Wan doesn't have his own lightsaber. He uses Qui-Gon's, so that's kind of nice, I guess. Yeah, Greg Bear. I don't. Has Greg Bear actually written anything else other than this? I don't think
Nope,
he has. It's
just
just
this.
this.
I think he's
Yes,
a
I mean.
Halo author, if I recall.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean, considering this is his only work in the EU, like his out of 10 score for all of his books might be in the upper echelons for Star Wars EU authors. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really to say. It's just a Photoshop thing. It looks fine, other than Anakin's face, I guess.
Oh, he did Halo way later. Okay, so
Yeah.
Darwin, his Darwin series is, I guess, what got him this job.
Okay. There you go.
Or
Yeah,
quantum logic. Quantum?
quantum. Quantum is a very smart word, I'd like to say. So if you use it in literature, you're probably high IQ. May just be. Rogue Planet is the title. I I don't know if there's any like because
It's Onomasi code. That is the titular rogue planet.
yeah, that I mean that's obvious. I just wanted like Rogue. I don't know because
It's
in
because it moves
German
around. That's why.
because the German title is Planet der Verräter, so planet of traitors, or rogues, I guess, as well. So I just kind of wondered, who would be the traitor, I guess? I mean, yeah, Rogue Planet obviously refers to Zonama Zika, but yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it's...
I'm pretty sure the rogue itself is like because it moves around, not because
okay.
not like a person. Is a rogue.
Yeah, then that's something maybe that just didn't quite... I mean, it translates kind of literally because rogue kind of means traitor in a way, or like Verräter, but
Yeah,
I guess it just doesn't translate well over into the German title. So yeah, that's fine. I mean, yeah, it's nothing really exceptionally bad to say. It's an okayish cover. Title sort of makes sense. So There you go. Renegaten plan. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Well, there you go. Hey, no, you have free time. Free time's always good. Is this the Rogue One sequel? Why not? Why not? Rogue Squadron, Rogue Plan. When it comes to taking down a Death Star, yeah, sure. Why not? I guess. Yeah, I don't think there's anything more to say about this book, so I guess let's just jump into it. Chapter 1.
The longest chapter.
Chapter 1 is by far the longest chapter, and it has kind of no reason to be. It might be the worst part of the book, kind of, I think. Because, yeah, it's
It
not
doesn't really add to anything.
exactly. Because the only thing that's happening, so, if just right on the first page, immediately you get that Anakin is, while he is officially in Jedi training already, so, we're picking up after Phantom Menace, he's participating in illegal street races on Coruscant, which some people might think is a weird thing for a Jedi in training to do. So, oh well.
I think this has to be here. Like, I don't mean like literally has to be here. I think it's
Yeah.
put here because this book is like marketed to people who just finished the Phantom Menace and they're trying to get
Yeah.
introduced to the characters. So Anakin is like the racing kid,
He's the guy who does racing. Yeah.
and then Mace Windu shows up, and then he's just the
stern.
Jedi that's there.
Yeah, he's
And
stern
Obi-Wan's
Jedi.
there. Yeah.
And yeah, Yoda's kind of, yeah. No, that's probably it, because, yeah, as you said, it doesn't really add anything other than, by the way, this is the kid that does races, but then again, it's still too long. And yeah, he finds a competitor. He is a blood carver, I think was the race, like the name of the race in English.
I think so. Blood carver is used later on too with another thing.
Ah, okay, well, there you go. Yeah, in the beginning, it didn't seem to make a lot of sense because so the blood carver, he participates in the race as well, and he is fixated on Anakin. He just like out of the blue tells him that he smells like a slave, which kind of was weird to me. I'm like, what how would you know? I mean, now looking back to it, it makes sense. Like, yeah, he knew who he was, I guess. Yeah, but when I started reading that, I tried to dissect, like, how would he know what a slave even smells like, and like how does he know? But yeah, okay, that kind of got solved, and yeah, obviously we already get the signs that there is some form of conspiracy going on against the Jedi. Yeah, Anakin just kind of speculates on that being the case because, yeah, he really just is thinking about it, but that's it. And yeah, the guy, while the race is going on, tries to kill Anakin, but then like Obi-Wan at some point pretty quickly realizes he's gone, and he kind of knows where he went to. So he goes to pick him up and helps him against the blood carver, and then they go back to the temple. Yeah, it sounds like nothing happened, and yeah, nothing kind of happened, but it was in German. It was 34 pages, so like almost 30 pages, I guess, in English, and this could have been done in like 10 probably. So because there's lots of like explicit explanations on where exactly the race is going on, and I don't think that was necessary. Like, it added nothing really, as you said. Okay. Palpatine does the same thing when he was young. Foreshadowing. Maybe it was all planned. Very funny. So yeah, that's it really. That was chapter 1. Chapter 2. Yeah, so as I said, it's obvious that this book is playing post-Naboo Crisis, but it's not too far in the future. And we get a scene with kind of like the second plot that's going on next to what Anakin and Obi-Wan are doing with Tarkin and Wraith. I don't know how you pronounce him. Sienna?
I just kept it as Wraith in my notes, so I don't know.
Wraith. Okay, we'll call him Wraith. And yeah, they talk about how the Galactic Republic, and we kind of now get the aftermath of Phantom Menace, forced the Trade Federation to disband its troops, and these troops will just kind of naturally like grow into the Galactic Republic forces.
Be assimilated into the Republic forces.
Yeah.
So it's pretty clear that this was written before episode 2
Mhm.
because that doesn't
Yeah.
really make any sense. But
Yeah, it doesn't, of course, because the Republic doesn't use battle droids. But it's a neat idea that I think would make sense, to be honest. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, they lost. They will have to pay for it somehow. So their army being taken out of their control seems to be the most sensible thing. But yeah, I guess something happened in between that and Attack of the Clones. Yeah. Hey, you loved it. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I think it was good. I think it was fine, and I liked it reasonably as well. Yeah. Hercules aftermath, not that kind of aftermath, idiot. Um, yeah, and we get that Tarkin is clearly speaking to Wraith about some plans that he has for the future. And yeah, I mean, I can't spoil it because that gets pretty obvious. And like one of the next chapters is that he's already involved in Palpatine's plans to overthrow the Galactic Republic, which I guess was an interesting choice. I think it makes sense kind of for how Tarkin is supposed to be. I just didn't necessarily expect him to be involved that early on because we don't even have an army yet. So, or I guess we kind of have in this book, but not the clone army. So, yeah, it kind of surprised me. I think I like this, and I like seeing Tarkin being more involved in general.
The Clone
So,
Army is being worked on like right now, pretty much, isn't he?
true.
Like Sifo Dyas is basically just setting off to
Yeah,
go do the thing.
yeah, probably, I guess.
So I
And
guess it would make sense
like,
for
yeah, and somewhere around this time, Dooku has already like left the Jedi. I mean, it basically happens at the end of Phantom Menace, right? Like in
yeah.
Plagueis. So yeah, I guess it lines up actually. And yeah, I kind of missed more of Tarkin in Star Wars in general, I guess. So good for
Yeah, I
him to
like
be.
Tarkin.
Yeah, he's cool. He's fun to read. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Um. Oh yeah, we have a quote by Tarkin, which is "Humans are the future." And yeah, after reading Young Jedi Knights and the Corellian trilogy, I couldn't agree more. Thanks, but yeah, and exactly, yeah. So we have Tarkin speaking about how he's been ordered from a yet unknown party to stop all increases of power by the Jedi. Yeah, so as I said, it's obvious that this is already related to Darth Sidious. And yeah, apparently Tarkin gifted a a destroyed droid to Anakin, which he then took to the Jedi Temple and repaired there. But apparently that droid itself, like it has some kind of hardware built in where it's recording conversations that are going on in the Jedi Temple. I guess I consider it too easy to just be able to put like spyware into like literally into the temple, but it doesn't really seem like there's a lot of benefits to that anyway, at least not now. So I
This is
guess
the
that
prequel Jedi we're talking about.
true, true. Though I do still defend the position that they're smarter than the Praxium Jedi, but yeah, no, yeah, that is correct. Yeah, I guess kind of he gave off. I mean, he can because like whenever I think about Tarkin, I also think about how Peter Cushing portrayed him, and he's perfect, perfect role for that. He can always play that role. So yeah,
No, because that's not canon. So
yeah, like understanding the EU means understanding that canon is like it's more like guidelines, not actual rules, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's it. And yeah, they're kind of speaking about like a weapon in some ways, so it's obvious that they're already speaking about the plans for the Death Star, which yeah just ties into the rest. I guess that makes sense because in Attack of the Clones it's done, like the plans are finished. So yeah, they would start talking about this stuff for
Although
now.
that already doesn't really make any sense. But
Yeah, but I guess it's
that's George's problem.
yeah, it's working okay, I guess, with what
Yeah.
happens in the prequels. So that's just kind of it. Yeah. Uh, too far away from that. I don't care. That's the only rule. There's a lot of shit in the Star Wars EU. We should be open to
Taking a lot
deleting
of
a
it.
lot of things from the official canon because yeah, it doesn't make sense. Chapter 3. Yeah, we are. So now we're back in the temple again, and we kind of get Obi-Wan because we don't really know anything about Mace Windu at this point in the timeline, and he kind of just thinks about what kind of guy Mace Windu is, and he thinks about how he can be both a very stern and like rigorous guy, and he's kind of you kind of can't really see through him, you can't analyze him really, but in a way, apparently, he also seems to have some sort of humor. And I think Obi-Wan specifically says that he is, like, to him, he's more mysterious than Yoda, which I guess, sure. I mean, we don't get a lot from Mace Windu character-wise, so yeah, I guess I'll take what I can get. But yeah,
I feel like everyone, all the writers had a completely different take on who Mace Windu is.
yeah, because
When it was
I,
really
I
obvious that he was just a boring ass Jedi.
he was just, I mean, he's Sam Jackson.
He's Sam Jackson looking stern.
Yeah, it's the character was tailor-made for him because he's stern. Yeah, that's it. I mean, there isn't really a lot to Mace Windu, so I guess whenever there's something borderline competently done with him, it's to be appreciated. But yeah, that's what you get. So oh well. Um, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's what he's there
hey,
for.
I guess yeah. I mean, it's Sam Jackson, like it's a high-profile actor, so I guess we gotta add him. But yeah. We have a discussion with Mace, Obi-Wan, and Anakin. It's funny to see Mace Windu kind of seems to defend the idea that pain can be the greatest teacher, and Obi-Wan kind of disagrees. He says like, oh, pain, like it can be a crutch to lean onto because it kind of helps you, but it never will give you actual like stability in who you are. And yeah, I guess just knowing that the Denningverse is going to happen, it's nice to have a Jedi before everybody else who defends the idea that pain can be the greatest teacher. So maybe, maybe Troy didn't like. Although I guess I don't know when this book was released, was it like 2000.
2000. 2000.
Okay, yeah, then it fits. Vector Prime. Vector Prime is going to be. We won't stream next week because next week I'll be on vacation. But the week after that, we'll do Vector Prime. Aces of the Sith. I mean, yeah, guess we kind of got that with Vapart or Vapart, however you pronounce it, and how it works. So yeah. Yeah, and the Jedi kind of are lamenting the fact that Anakin's best talents are kind of wasted on like those activities like illegal street races and machines. And they kind of hope for him to look within himself and get more comfortable with using the Force and being an actual Jedi, an actual representation of what a Jedi is supposed to be. And
What a fucking idea.
What? I'm sorry?
What an idea. Using
Crazy,
the Force
right?
and learning about it.
Learning about the Force. I feel like there's more Force lessons in this than in Young Jedi Knights. Like honestly, what Force lessons were there in Young Jedi Knights? I don't think any.
When Tion showed up that one day and was like, "You guys should go back to the basics and pick up rocks," and then Raynor was like, "Why?" And then Jason was like,
16.
"Why, you fucking asshole?"
How dare you be condescending by asking normal questions that anyone would? Yeah, but Anakin says that he doesn't actually want to look within himself, really, because he says that he doesn't like what he sees within him. which makes sense. And he shares that even his mother just didn't know what to do with him sometimes, and was confused because that's a thing she can't possibly understand, which was a nice detail considering. I mean, Shmi is really a side of a side character, so that was nice. We got head of U.S. nuclear arms right here with us. Hello, how are you today?
He rebels,
He
Hello there.
rebels. How are you doing? Everything all right?
Yep.
Nice,
So,
nice.
Rogue Planet,
We are talking about Rogue Planet, yeah?
which is important because it's New Jedi Order Book 0.
Yeah.
It's,
After reading New Jedi Order already, I actually agree. There's a lot more here than people.
Would you
Then
agree
give it
this
credit.
is like the only book when people say you have to read every book before New Jedi Order? This
I don't
is
think
like
you
the
have
only
to,
one.
but it is nice. It's a nice supplement.
yeah, it's like, I guess if you don't know what NJO is about and you hear about Vergia in this book and you kind of wonder what happened to her, and maybe you're kept
There's
guessing,
also-
will she appear in
There's
the
also one
NJO?
other major element that I'm not going to talk about yet. We'll get there in like 12 books.
Yeah, exactly. But
Also, the
that-
best
that-
review I've seen of this book from like a person who didn't know the NJO connection was like, I read like a book about Obi-Wan and Anakin back in the day, and it was just about them buying a ship, and that was the plot.
I guess kind of, which is more
Mhm.
substantial than a lot of Bantamura plots. So good on Greg Bear, I guess. Yeah, it'd be fun. I liked Vector Prime. Yeah. Man, I'm not ready to say that the journey was worth it, but I guess it was entertaining. That would be fair to say.
I agree.
Yeah, all legacy characters are pretty awesome in this book. So, oh wait, no, you mean Rogue Planet, not Vector Planet. Maybe George Lucas had a point now about confusing Anakin Skywalker and Solo. Yeah, I've read all of X-Wing. I just haven't. I never wrote down notes about them, so I never reviewed them. We'll do that at some far distant point in the future if I still will go on at this point. I kind of don't believe you, but you should just read them because they're kind of neat. So, oh well, there you go. And as I said, it was nice, I guess, to get more information about Anakin and Shmi's relationship because there really is nothing to that in the most part. I mean,
Their mother and
she's his
son.
mother.
There's-
Yeah, it's mother and son. Like that's pretty self-explanatory. And yeah, we meet another master who we haven't heard about, Master Thracia, I guess would be how you pronounce her. She's kind of a laid-back Jedi master. She does call Yoda a tree stump with overgrown ears, which is modestly amusing. And yeah, and she tells both him and Mace Windu that they couldn't possibly understand kids because they never had any and were never married, which is true.
This is another clear sign that this is before episode 2.
Yeah,
Because the no marriage thing isn't in writing yet.
yeah, it's evident that this was not. I mean, she openly talks about it. She's like, yeah, she was married. I'm not sure if she was married multiple times, but she clearly was. She had kids of her own. Yeah, so that all of that was no factor at all. And I guess there is no reference of that in Phantom Menace. It's only starting from Attack of the Clones that becomes a
Exactly.
factor.
That is correct.
Because
yes.
George needed a plot device for the romance to be drama there,
Because
I
a
feel like,
war and
yeah,
being like a major force of the war isn't enough, of course.
yeah, I kind of also disagree that this would even be necessary. But yeah, I guess it's an easy out for, I guess I need some kind of vague drama here. Because he would identify with Anakin when he kills the blood god. That was a nice scene. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, because episode 2 is a terrible film.
I like it because I like fucking
I
Christopher Lee.
like watching it, but
yeah, it's not good. it's definitely not good. It's really bad. Yeah,
It gave
And-
us some memes,
it did.
It did,
Episode
yeah.
3's memes are better. It's also a better.
Yeah, it's
general.
not as meme packed as Revenge of the Sith, but it tries. It
Mhm.
tries. Yeah. Oh yeah, and Thracia, she's giving some advice to Anakin, which is basically like, be a kid. It's okay to be a kid. You should annoy people, and you should keep your master busy. She also explicitly said it's good for him to be busy and to be on his toes all the time, and not to grow comfortable, as you could assume Obi-Wan would be if Anakin wasn't there, just kind of a very calm and collected master. That kind of helps him maybe to be more active. And yeah, she also tells them, yeah, the stuffy like atmosphere of the temple isn't really good for you anyway. They should have some kind of productive adventure. And the one she specifically suggests is finding her pupil, Vergia, who's been missing for quite a while. A year, I think she says that she's been missing. And yeah, that was the chapter. I was like, that's an interesting and like understandable concept of how the Jedi work, I guess. So that was cool.
Can we talk about the Vigia retcons and how this now makes no sense?
No, save it. Physically write it down, and we'll get there. Because it'll be
When we have to talk about its perfect timing. Remember her backstory with Sidious?
I
How
don't
this makes
know what
perfect sense.
I don't know what the Vergia retcons would be, and I feel like they would
Oh,
spoil
I mean,
NJO.
you know the no. You just know the basic retcons that Troy retconned her to be a Sith in secret.
Oh well, yeah, I've heard that, but I don't know like the specific mechanics of how like what her
Okay.
connection of like Palpatine would be, and how all of that develop. I just know that.
Let's just say it doesn't work with the timeline at
Oh
all.
well, what a new concept for the EU to do something that doesn't fit with the time.
Yeah.
That's like every EU book ever.
Yeah, that'll be a darkness conversation.
Basically, it's just like this is what. So Vergier would have disappeared 2 years after Phantom Menace, right?
I'm
Because
not
this is set 3 years later, so she would have disappeared, 1 year ago. So
it doesn't
I
feel
guess
like
so,
it
yeah.
is, but
If this is 3 years later, then yeah, I guess so, yeah.
and I think with the Denning retcons, let's just say she had a run-in with some dark side stuff, and the fact that she's still around the Jedi at this point would make no sense whatsoever.
I can see that, but yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like this will be a topic for another time, because I just don't have the background knowledge. Yeah.
That's like in 10 years when you get to Legacy of the Force.
Exactly. Oh yeah, if only the world building would be the worst, but yeah, it's part of it, kind of. I guess. I mean, it's entertaining. That's really all. At this point specifically, that's all that really matters to me. I don't. Yeah. Definitely, yeah. It feels like it. Yeah. So chapter 4, we kind of get an interesting perspective by like, Anakin here, because he he did all these things that are obviously forbidden. I mean, he broke the law even, but he isn't suspended or like punished anyway. And he actually doesn't feel well about that fact, because he knows that he's being kept there and kind of coddled for his abilities that nobody else has. And he himself compared himself to like a rich man who, because he has so much wealth, would never know whether the friends that he has would be actual friends, or if they just kind of pretend because they want access like to the wealth that he has. I guess it's an interesting perspective, because yeah, I mean, we really get no explanation ever on why Anakin would be allowed to do a lot of no things and never really be punished for it. And that's really, I think, the only kind of logical thing that you could come up with is, yeah, we need this guy, I guess, so let's try to make it work in any way. And yeah, he doesn't think that it's fair to think that way necessarily. He even appreciates when he gets warned and like about his behavior, because to him, too much tolerance kind of means weakness, and he sees that, well, weakness can obviously be a big disadvantage. So he actually likes when he's being told off, because I mean, he needs it. Yeah. Chapter 5. Yeah, there wasn't really a lot to say. Anakin, he tells Obi-Wan about how at a certain point he always reaches a mental block when he's trying to meditate. And Obi-Wan doesn't try to push the issue too much, since he learns much faster than he used to as a kid. He kind of should, I guess, but it's understandable why he wouldn't. But it's this like spiritual things that Anakin kind of naturally struggles with. It would be really helpful for him if he was better at that. But yeah, it's kind of understandable why he wouldn't necessarily care too much about it. So yeah, it's understandable, but it also kind of plays into his very eventual downfall. So was nice enough for me. Chapter 6, yeah. Anakin and Obi-Wan, they have a contact that they're going to join up with. His name is Korza, I guess would be the pronunciation. He also was Vergia's contact when she went on her journey. And yeah, he talks about, he shares a legend kind of about specific trade routes and special ship builders that are connected to the supposedly existing planet Zonama Seacode. And it's supposedly only it's supposed to be a very rocky planet and only interesting for mining purposes really, but like some reports said that there was a new space traveling race which was like spotted there for the first time, and Vergia was sent out to
Who could
try
that
and
be?
find I don't know, it's a mystery, isn't it? And yeah, she was sent to the place, and she eventually found Zonama Seacode. She described it as like full of huge forests and also hidden factories. And then at some point, she just never sent another message again. And since that point, she had no contact with anyone. And yeah, of course, if you read NJO, you know who this is gonna be. But in theory, I wouldn't know if I didn't hear about these things before, and it was interesting enough to like kind of get you hooked on the plot. Chapter 7. Yeah, somehow we get that not Reyna,
Raynar.
Wraith Sina. I guess it's almost kind of Reyna. No, Wraith. He managed to smuggle 4-meter tall killing machines like droids onto Coruscant, I think, and into his place without the Galactic Republic noticing. Yeah, I dislike really using the justification, "Oh, they're just shit, that's why they never realize any of these things happening," but, I guess that's really the only explanation you could come up with. And yeah, he keeps, like, a personal storage full of failed projects from his competitors that he buys. He calls it an, quote, "intellectual toy," and he he uses it to remind himself basically how serious failure could be, which is a bit melodramatic, but I guess sure.
It's better than keeping a picture of the shards of Alderaan.
Like literally keeping a picture of the empty space where a planet used to be, too, because you're evil. Yeah, no, that's true. There seems to be like some reason why he would do that. Not really, but kind of. And yeah, that's when Tarkin returns. He reached this place, even though Wraith knows that he really shouldn't have been able to. So we immediately get some form of tension here. He has a blood carver with him. So, it's evident that he was the one responsible for Anakin being attacked earlier in the book. That was kind of interesting to me, I guess, because I was like, if in theory the blood carver would have been successful, wouldn't that kind of destroy Palpatine's entire plan in the first place? Because, well, Anakin needs to survive for his plan to succeed.
At this point in the timeline, like writing wise, I don't
Yep.
think people knew Anakin was actually a major part of the of Palpatine's plan.
I guess so, yeah.
So
at
maybe
least
in
not-
universe he's just not part of it yet, and eventually he gets.
That's probably what it would be. Yeah, like at this point, he hasn't considered it yet. I mean, even though like
He's still full in for Dooku.
Yeah, kind of. I guess. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess we will watch your career with great interest, but whatever. Yeah, that's an understandable explanation. Would kind of make sense. But yeah, and Wraith. Yeah, at some point he used to sell. Oh god, YT freighters. So like Corellian ships. Which like all of them I think held a secret tracking device that he could activate at any point. And like the one that Karza has, so Karza has one of those ships, and because I think Tarkin says like you have one which like, monitors a helper of the Jedi, so he's supposed to use that. And we also get like Tarkin knows this already, that Wraith at some point got one of the ships that are being built on Zanama Seacot. And it seems like, yeah, he now just kind of agreed under duress to do an expedition to Zanama Seacot. Because, yeah, Tarkin tells him to. And, yeah, that was really it. Like, not a lot to say here. I did consider it kind of funny that he, like, Wraith himself pointed out how evil and strange Tarkin looks like, which, poor Peter Cushing, but yeah, I guess. Chapter 8. Yeah, we get some weird biology on this Karza guy. So he has staff with him that's like piloting his ship. And the thing that they do is Karza eats part of his staff and then gives birth to their offspring within him, which I guess means that he's shitting them out. And they then become his new staff. And that was kind of weird. Chapter 9. Yeah, we just learned that the blood carver, his name is Kadave. Kadave. What?
I think
Dave.
Kadave.
Let's just call him Dave.
Oh, what did you want to say, Pika?
Oh, I think that was right. That's all.
Kadave. Yeah, I guess so. It almost sounds like cadaver in German, which is a corpse. So, well, whatever. Yeah, he's
maybe intentional.
Maybe, who knows? I don't think so, but would be.
I mean, we got Darth Luft. Anything is possible.
I guess we got that.
Sturm und Drang.
True. The accounts of talent. That was kind of funny. Yeah.
Fanscheiser, right. Pika, you're gonna love Fanscheiser, by the way. His name is very fitting.
Fanscheiser. Yeah, I've only seen him in Shadows of Mindor, and I agree, it fits. Yeah, Kadave, he's from Batterine. That's his own planet, and we just know that he will follow Wraith on his new mission. But other than that, there was really nothing to say. Chapter 10, we get a very cool but kind of short Obi-Wan, like a POV chapter from Obi-Wan, where it's just kind of think about how much Anakin is disrupting the usual order in his life, like, with the pranks that he's pulling, but also that even though Anakin disrupts his life and he's so young, he can actually learn quite a lot from him. So it's nice that that's in here already. Chapter 11, once again, just a short chapter where Wraith shows Tarkin the Sokotan starship that he purchased, so the one from Zanama Seacot, or at least the part that's left of it. And yeah, we learn that these ships are made from some form of tissue, and they are alive in a way. They are not really comparable to any other organic constructions that we know of in this galaxy so far. And yeah, that was just kind of interesting, and yeah, we're going to learn more about that as the book itself goes on. It's deeper than a lot of EU stuff, so I appreciate whenever we see something. Yeah, I like Tarkin and Cena. I think they have an interesting connection that I think fills enough. Like, it may be kind of dragged out towards the end a little, but I think they're pretty entertaining to read, so I like them fine enough. Chapter 12. Yeah, Anakin, he is kind of understandably disturbed by Karza's very strange dietary practices. Obi-Wan tries to tell him that there is a form of order to this, because yeah, exactly. It seems like I think Corsa explains this, that the offspring is actually like the offspring that the that his staff is pregnant with is actually gonna die if he doesn't eat the parents, which sounds bizarre, but I guess yeah, alien biology, you just kind of accept that because what else?
As always, humans are the best. So
As always, humans are the most normal and actual supreme species of the universe. We all know that. We've known that for a long time. But yeah, there you go. So it at least try to make it sound less cruel than it kind of is. So yeah. And yeah, Obi-Wan is actually kind of hopeful and happy about the fact that there's still more to explore in the known universe, because Zonama Secret is very close to the unknown regions. And Obi-Wan is like, these kinds of places that are very remote, it gives an opportunity to explore who you really are as well. And it's something that Qui-Gon taught him. It's like these very strange places that are not really known yet. These are a great opportunity for you to learn more about yourself, which I guess was kind of sweet. I always like more about Qui-Gon because he's kind of pretty cool actually as a character. So yeah. And then they take a look at a picture with huge trees, or they're called boras on Zonama Secret, which Vergia sent them, like one of the last things, or like the last thing probably that she sent at all. And yeah, they're approaching the planet, which yeah, sounds kind of cool for a planet. Chapter 13, there really is not a lot here at all. Tarkin just mentions to Wraith how promising their whole endeavor is, and that Wraith's quote independent thinking in this matter isn't welcome. So yeah, sounds like Tarkin. He would be very law and order like, and wouldn't appreciate improvisation. So it makes sense. Chapter 14. Oh yeah, we get that apparently the Jedi Order has a shared bank account, because a lot of people voluntarily want to help fund the Jedi, and I don't think we get a number, but it supposedly has insane amounts of money on there. And like, I guess it's believable that people want to financially help the Jedi, but I seriously wondered, like, what would the Jedi even need that much money for? I guess
new
like,
lightsabers.
That's
New
going to be a question that's going to repeat itself in the Denning-verse.
you're kidding me.
I mean, kind of. I remember that in like Crucible, because spoilers, but no one cares. In the Denning-verse, like by the end, the Jedi split from the Galactic Alliance. And they mention in a couple of the books, like, oh, they got gifted like this spaceship and these spaceships there, and Lando is essentially bankrolling the entire New Jedi Order.
Don't
I
they
think they
split off
also
from the JA in Dark Nest? Way at the end?
no in Apocalypse.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they never like make up with them. I guess that happens in the 100 years between Crucible and Legacy. But yeah, they make a couple of mentions where it's like, who is actually like financing the Jedi Order?
yeah.
It's
I-
weird. I guess
Yeah.
it's just Lando in the New Jedi Order case, but
I guess so, yeah. But in this case, it's supposedly a lot of people who just like it's like a a bank account that you can donate to, and yeah, I don't know, maybe they're doing it for tax write-offs or something. But
oh my god, imagine like the Jedi are pleading for money, like those
Like-
those fake scam artists on like TV or something. Please
or,
look
or
into your
these,
heart. Send us just 1 or 2 credits.
or like these Greenpeace
Send
people
us your
who
firstborn child, please.
exactly, or like these Greenpeace people are like in the city and trying to approach you. Even though
I mean,
it's clear that
they
you
don't
need
ask
them.
to give your children to them. They're just gonna take them,
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
as we learned
But-
from Karen Travis.
But yeah, I guess I just wondered, like, what next to like keeping the temple intact and the starfighters intact, like, because it doesn't sound like they get just a lot. It's like ridiculous amounts of money. So I just like
I
kind of
mean,
wonder-
if we're gonna guess, like realistically, they have to get food for like a couple thousand Jedi living in the temple.
yeah,
I guess
probably.
clothes and
Clothes, mate.
paying the electric bills. That must be enormous for a temple on Coruscant. I mean, it's a fucking city planet.
Probably, yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, it's probably like if you live in like the rich areas of the US, like you live in fucking, I don't know, California, you live in Hollywood, you live in
Maybe-
Los Angeles, it's really expensive. I don't know.
I guess so, maybe. Or I don't. Maybe they're buying real estate or something. No clue. I'm sure you can do a lot with a lot of money. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily make sense. maybe. Who knows? Chapter 4. Yeah, it was chapter 14 where we are. So so Anakin is like doing his like Jedi practice, and he afterwards he manages to like look at his life and his future with a bit more clarity than before. He imagines like a future of heroism, which of course is going to happen, and also very specifically a wife at his side who I think he specifically said looks like Padme.
Me too.
Yeah. He's like me for real.
Yeah.
And yeah, he mentions that of course that just doesn't work now with Attack of the Clones, but yeah, the Jedi quote only get married rarely. So
I mean,
That
that
part still is true.
it's a
'cause-
factual statement. I guess it's just not something that would be thought about this openly. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Coyote Mundi has 20 wives.
right?
Must be exhausting a lot.
Corin Horn's dad.
Yeah.
Niger Halcyon, you know.
Yeah, that happened. So I guess.
Ballista.
Oh yeah, the eldest Jedi.
Oh no.
That doesn't work because Anakin first meets them in the Karen Travis Clone Wars book.
Yeah, and it's awful.
Yeah, and he's shocked. Remember when
Yeah.
Ahsoka was literally horrified when he saw Callista's fiance touch her ass?
Yeah. I do remember that.
Was
Yeah.
That book is terrible, by the way. Don't listen to anyone. That
I
says
highly
otherwise.
recommend it. Please read it.
Was that the book where Pallion insults Ahsoka for dressing
Oh,
like a
that's
slut?
the-
Yeah,
that's-
yeah.
Oh, it is that one. Okay. I was thinking that's the other one.
It is that one. That's like Karen Travis' magnum opus.
Exactly. Kia Mundi he's taking one for the team, or I guess 20 for the team. But yeah, there you go.
Fucking exhausting though.
It's ironic that his head looks very specific.
Yeah, who knows? Those Syrians are weird, I guess. And
You should
yeah,
read Republic to see how weird they are.
after NJO, I will, and after
Okay.
Kosher. Yep. And so Anakin and Obi-Wan, they're approaching Zunama Secret, and Anakin has like a very brief but like deep spiritual experience when he's looking at it, and when he tries to like remember what he actually like, or when he tries to feel the same feelings that he had when he looked at the planet, the only thing that he could remember was his mother. So we just know, well, this planet is obviously kind of special in the Force in some way. But yeah, and he also mentions, and that was kind of interesting because we never got anything like any speculation about that really, that he had never seen the face of his father. And yeah, I guess other than that one brief conversation between like Qui-Gon and Shmi, we never hear anybody speculate on that. I mean, we know that what Shmi tells you is true, that he just appeared, but I guess it was interesting to even see Anakin ask about that, because it seems natural that he would ask, like, who even is my father? Because why wouldn't he speculate about that?
You know, if this was written by Denning, Anakin would speculate if his mom was just lying and she's just a whore.
That could be the case.
She could have been a sex slave.
Yeah, who knows? I don't want to. Yeah, there you go. And after that experience, Anakin is alone in a room when he has that experience, and the moment that Obi-Wan enters the room, it's himself as well, Anakin immediately goes to him and hugs him, which is nice. And Obi-Wan specifically thinks about how he never had that kind of special bond with anyone. How he has his bond with Anakin, not even with Qui-Gon himself. which makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of the feeling that you get in the end as well. So that was nice. Chapter 14. Yeah, Wraith. He gets provided a fleet by Tarkin, and we learn that the fleet is
15, not 14.
15. Yeah. So sorry, may have just misspoke. Yeah, chapter 15. Yeah, so the fleet that Wraith gets provided is in pretty bad shape, and he speaks about like this. This fleet is only good to quote conquer a planet still in the Middle Ages. I guess there's no Middle Ages in Star Wars, but whatever. That's
What is it called? The Darth Bane era.
I guess
The
so.
new, the
Maybe.
new Sith Wars.
I guess that's the Middle Ages. Who knows?
Yeah, the Republic Dark Age. That's what it's called.
The Republic Dark Age. Yeah, maybe. I guess that would be.
Why would that be the Dark Age?
I don't know. I guess
That's what it's officially called. I guess I don't know.
But that's stupid.
Because there was like a plague going around and Sith everywhere.
I guess they need to call the age something.
They were
I don't
winning.
think they need to.
I mean, it was the age right before, the 1,000 years of peace with the Republic, before the Clone Wars. So.
Oh well, yeah. And yeah, Wraith, he is very unsure about Tarkin's precise motives, and he thinks that he's putting him in this like uncomfortable position. So in the case that he very likely will be defeated, he has to take the blame for it, while Tarkin and Tarkin himself says, both the Trade Federation and even more so the Galactic Republic have invested everything that they have into fighting pirates and defending their trade routes, and they don't actually have any better equipment to provide. And Wraith basically accepts the card that he's been dealt with, but he's at least trying to assert his dominance over the fleet and make sure that people understand that he wants to take command, because he just, I guess, kind of realizes that this situation is stacked against him, which I guess makes sense, yeah. Chapter 16, there wasn't really anything to say here. Anakin and Obi-Wan, they land on Zonama Seacot, and the locals are naturally pretty suspicious and secretive about everything that's going on, kind of. Chapter 17, it just continues with the two of them meeting a local woman who's greeting them, but she's very unhospitable, and she communicates with others with she's kind of communicating in a way that Obi-Wan can't quite figure out. And like for the first time, he at least thinks about it that way, for the first time since Qui-Gon's death, he just has some kind of fear. Wait, I need to read. And Anakin might be. Yeah, he has just a weird feeling, and he feels like Anakin is connected to this in some way. And we'll kind of see that Anakin will increasingly react to the presence on Zonama Seacot in weirder ways, and I guess he just has some kind of premonition about that. He just feels that something will happen to Anakin, and he doesn't quite understand yet what is going on. Chapter 18. Yeah, Wraith is now just slowly realizing that he's been pushed to just move along with the plan. Like Tarkin has taken charge, and he's just thrown him into these situations where he doesn't have really any possibilities to prepare himself, and he just feels out of control in how he needs to try and retake control for himself, which makes sense. I guess that was kind of the part that I liked about them, is this knowledge that he kind of was screwed in some way. You just don't fully understand how and why exactly, and Wraith just tries to get every bit of control back that he can. Chapter 19. Anakin can feel that there's some form of big change. He doesn't really get a lot of details.
Yep, big change.
Big change. That there's some form of big change either about to happen, or it has already happened. That's just kind of what remains there. And then they meet Gun. Gun is a local Pharaohan, that's the species, and he offers them to submit themselves to the teaching, because to fly a spaceship from Seacot, you need to be kind of specifically taught. And here we get the explanation that the actual planet is just called Zonama, and the nature that covers the entire planet, that's called Seacot, and that together makes Zonama Seacot. So that was kind of interesting to learn. Chapter 20. Yeah, and Anakin, now we kind of get what Obi-Wan felt. He has some form of reaction to Seacot that causes his emotions to rise a lot. So he's very, maybe not moody, but he reacts strongly to everything that's happening, and he's not always very approachable. He's just kind of in his own little world after he landed on Seacot. And yeah, we'll have to see what exactly, like we'll see in the course of this book what exactly that means for Anakin. And Obi-Wan, like by that, he just kind of realizes that he doesn't understand either Seacot or Anakin fully. Yep. Hey, so
You can't use that joke if we don't change the day.
yeah, I feel like this.
But yeah, you should have had this stream yesterday.
I wasn't done the book yesterday.
God damn it.
I'm sorry.
I wouldn't have had time yesterday, and I wouldn't have wanted to yesterday.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get this over with today. Because
Sivert, while you are here and listening, quick update. I'm gonna watch the Batman animated series. Finally.
Oh, that's nice, I guess. There you go.
Mhm.
I don't agree.
It could have been quicker, sure, but I don't actually think that it was a slog. Like both main
Except for
people-
that first chapter for sure.
Yes.
that
I think we
first
all
chapter,
agree.
for no reason at all, was a real slog, yeah, because it added nothing. But yeah, no, both Pico and me actually like this book, like reasonably. So yeah. Chapter 21, and yeah, Obi-Wan and Anakin, they're now trying to get to know Seacot, and they need to offer Seacot something that's called potentium. And potentium, like the understanding that we get now, kind of is, I guess, some form of, well, maybe payment is a bit simplistic, but it's basically something that they need to provide in exchange for getting that ship. And the money that I mentioned from this shared bank account, they brought that money with them, or I guess it was some, I don't know what the metal was. It was some, Star Wars metal, essentially. Some
Unobtainium.
Unobtainium. Shut up. Like some gold equivalent, essentially. And Obi-Wan thinks about how weird it is that this sort of payment, I guess, is called potentium, because he remembers that potentium is actually just a heretical view of the Force, like kind of a heresy of the Force that the Jedi dealt with a couple of years ago. I don't know how long ago it was, but might have been quite a while ago, actually.
Sounds like Sith to me.
Obviously, yeah. And yeah, Obi-Wan just, the double meaning of this word is supposed to be kind of confusing. Obi-Wan's confused by it himself, but we'll learn later why it even is called potentium.
That's so disappointing. Thank you for, I was so hyped.
Yeah, that sounds
very... The first appearance of a fan favorite character, Harley Quinn.
Ew.
I was so hyped to learn why this character, became so beloved.
Well, she's actually good in that series. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Sure.
I remember seeing a couple of scenes with her. I think she at least didn't look like she was totally unhinged, and she didn't seem to behave like it. That's something, I guess. Chapter 22. Yep. Not a lot to say again. We just see that Wraith is angry for a bit, since he personally hates the fragility of the battle droids that he's been provided with, and he believes that the droids,
the Jedi cut them down like butter.
Yeah, he actually thinks that they were the downfall of the Trade Federation. The fact that these battle droids are kind of stupid,
which is objectively true.
Which is true. Yeah, so good on him, I guess. I mean, he would know as a weapons manufacturer or like ship manufacturer. But yep, that's actually correct. Chapter 23. Yeah, so Anakin is influenced even more so now. Obi-Wan doesn't even recognize him anymore, because on Zonama Secret, as it seems to be, he's fully open for the Force, and he's behaving very differently than he would usually. And yeah, they're supposed to find partners to even build this ship and to get the resources that they need. And they find them, and they get flooded with spiked balls, I guess. Would be. I don't know what the actual name was, but yeah, it's just literal spike balls. And I was kind of confused, like what's even going on, but yeah, I guess we learn more. Is it worth rewinding the stream for your discussion on Mace Windu saying pain is the greatest teacher? Not. We just mentioned, I guess. Oh, that was funny, wasn't it? Because
I think I missed that one, but yeah, Mace Windu is confirmed the Sith Lord.
A Sith Lord?
Mm-hmm. Maybe he was in cahoots with Vegeta the entire time.
Oh yeah, maybe that's why he looked so angry when he fought Palpatine after all, because he was the actual Sith and he wanted to win. Who knows?
He was another failed apprentice of Palpatine.
Exactly.
He was trying to get his revenge. He is the revenge of the Sith.
He is the actual revenge of the Sith. Yeah, it all adds up. Yeah. Chapter 24. Yeah, Wraith is kind of, still trying to rebel, and he's trying to use his rank in a smart way and try to force Kadave, who is with him, to tell him what he knows about Tarkin and what's even going on. While he's sharing with him, and I guess Kadave wasn't really aware of that fact, that aliens are not really supposed to have a place in the Republic of the future, which he seems mildly surprised by. So
holy based. Why can't we bring this Republic back?
It's really difficult for me to feel bad about that fact when every single Star Wars story I've seen so far just confirms that this is the only right thing to do. So the authors would have to do a better job at this. Can't relate. I'm sure in response to what this is exactly, but I'm sure it's very smart. He's one of the three, the other being Vegeta, who never said it, by the way, at Gandalf. Yeah, maybe, yeah. I'm sure Vegeta said it in the Vegeta Compendium, though, so I'm not sure that you're correct.
Yeah. Release the Vegeta Compendium. Do it, Troy.
If this is an actual document that exists, I would.
It is. If he still has it, it is. It exists, and it's literally more canon than
than anything else, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it did override the official canon of New Jedi Order,
confirming that canon is a guideline and not a rule in the EU. Yeah, so there you go. Chapter 25. Yeah, Obi-Wan and Anakin, they emerge from the pile that they've been buried under, and yeah, they have a bunch of spiked balls attached to them, and they will then provide the material for the ship. Obi-Wan has 3 with him, and Anakin has 12, which
that's a lot of balls.
That's a lot of balls, yeah. It's a lot of resources, I guess. Yeah, the fact that he has 12 of them.
Aren't they literally called Semen in German, like Samenkapseln?
I have honestly forgot what. I tried to find some word for it in English that wouldn't sound weird, and I failed miserably because
they collect a bunch of semen in balls. That's basically what it is, semen.
And out of that, they grow a ship. So
yeah,
which may mean something. Very briefly in the beginning, and I guess in the end,
he gets told he's a miserable asshole and he should get married.
Which is correct.
Based.
Yep. No, but he's not like a big part of the book. He's just in the beginning and in the very end, I think, as well. Yeah, and yeah, the fact that Anakin collected 12 of them is, an indicator that his ship is going to be like really fantastic and great.
The 12 Dragon Balls.
Dragon Balls, yeah. He has more than 7, so that's cool. And yeah, they realized that some of them that they collected now have previously been attached to Vegeta before she went away. So that's just something we learn for now, and it'll be kind of relevant later. And yeah, Obi-Wan is understandably kind of angry, and he's demanding to know whether the locals knew that they'd almost get suffocated by these things, and he accuses them of hiding something. But ultimately kind of does nothing about it. He just accepts that, yeah, I guess this is happening now, and I'll see what I can do. Chapter 26, we just have Wraith leaving hyperspace, and he's approaching Zanama Secret now. Chapter 27, yeah, Anakin, he's still overly excited about everything going on, and Obi-Wan is kind of losing control over him because he can't get him to behave in any way. He's just even more, I guess, of a loose cannon that he'd be usually. And then they go to a person called the Magister. I don't know how you pronounce it in English. Magister is German, but
Magister, I think.
Magister, I guess. Yeah, Magister.
Magician.
Magician, yeah, maybe. And yeah, according to Obi-Wan, the Magister that they do find seems to have been a pure illusion. So they think they see a real person, but it interacts weirdly with them. And
Oh, The Last Jedi Luke Skywalker Force projection.
maybe, but I guess he didn't OD on it, so there's... So I guess this guy is less pathetic than Last Jedi Luke. Yeah, but whatever. This illusion that they see there, it grants them the wish of building a ship.
So it's a
And-
genie?
I guess he just allows them. He doesn't necessarily grant it in a magical way. But
Okay, that the way you said it wasn't very specific.
yeah, maybe. I guess I'm going to be more precise. But yeah. And yeah, we also have some speculation on whether both, the Magister and also kind of the entire planets somehow feel weak because of some potential loss that they had in the past, and whether it's like whether that loss that they experienced is connected to Vegeta in any way, which at this point, of course, I didn't know. So I just was like, I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Chapter 28. Once again, not a lot to say. Obi-Wan and Anakin meet the shipbuilders, and they start constructing it. Yeah, I guess it kind of seems that Obi-Wan is getting excited about the possibility of having a ship. Chapter 29. Wraith, once again, he's still approaching Zanama Secret, and Kadave tells him that there is obvious evidence for a very heavy orbital bombardment on the planet. Like the traces of it are still there, which to me seem to imply, okay, the Yuuzhan Vong attacked this place at some point in the past. But Wraith, he is supposed, I think, to actually go to the planet and try to get a ship, but he does it in a different way. Because he doesn't believe that this whole operation would even work otherwise, or like conquer the planet. He also doesn't think that's quite a good thing to try. So what he does is he sends Kadave to Zanama Secret, and he tries to get him to buy a spaceship instead of attempting any conquest of the planet, which makes sense considering he knows that he has a shit army. So yeah, there you go. Chapter 30. So Jabitha is the daughter of the shipbuilder, I think. She explains how the spheres get made into ships. That it's kind of weird. They eat old branches from the boras, like and they call lightning to incinerate the rest of them, and then within that fire, all these spheres like pop, and then they get into shape to be built into a ship. It's kind of a bit esoteric and weird. It's like it's just a thing that happens, and ships get built out of that. And yeah, Anakin, he thinks that her father has actually kind of manipulated their mind and not used holograms. So they thought these illusions that they saw before that they were holograms, but now they're like, maybe he has actually manipulated our mind. But yeah, he was like, he knows about the Jedi, so the speculation was, okay, he maybe trained as one and he might have been a reject. which also then would explain why this random word potentium is being mentioned on the planet. Chapter 31. Yeah. So Wraith, he's sending Kadave away with a droid who's acting as a sponsor, I guess his sponsor. Yeah, how this like droid even is a sponsor is kind of kept a secret. Like it's purposefully kept a secret on how that thing even works, which I guess is just to avoid having to explain how that exactly works. But okay, whatever. And yeah, we have one of the officers, like the former Trade Federation officers, who's now still on the ship. He is kind of expressing concern with Wraith on how they used to be honorable in the Trade Federation, and whether they'll be the same in the Galactic Republic. And while he's explaining all of that, Wraith just thinks about how they were all scum and kind of are lucky to even be free, which was an amusing scene, I guess. That Fire Nox cannot use orbital the reaction. Its later appearance in NGO implies that they are not familiar with the technique.
He doesn't. Shush.
Yeah,
We're not there yet.
I haven't read NGO Fabe. I wouldn't know what any of the later appearances of NGO tell. So you'll have to understand that I can't comment. And yeah, Wraith, he found somebody who. So we kind of just learned how Wraith even found out about Zonama's secret. He found somebody who won a droid that led the way to Zonama's secret in some gambling game, which is a bit contrived, but oh well, okay. And yeah, he wants to, now his plan is like to get a ship, to turn Kadave into the driver of the ship, and then try to flip Tarkin's plans against him. But yeah, I guess it's kind of good that he realizes at least that everybody's out there to get him. So what he does is he has a bunch of droids present there, and I think he swapped the brains or the cores or whatever of the droids to know that they are under his control and not secretly under Tarkin's control. Chapter 32. So Obi-Wan and Anakin, they go to the Gentari is their name. So they're, yeah, I think seed partners. I think that was the sub. I don't know. They get formed. And yeah, they ask about the southern hemisphere of Zonama's secret because that apparently was destroyed by a plague. Though the Jedi kind of can tell that it can't really be a plague. They assume it was some kind of war that destroyed that part of the planet. And yeah, of course, they're curious about what could possibly wreck the planet so much. Chapter 33. Yeah, we just have Reyna, fucking hell, Wraith being still there, and he's just wondering about his upcoming conflict with Tarkin and how that all is going to play out. Chapter 34. Obi-Wan seems to have some small interaction with Qui-Gon, where he actually, like, in that where in that interaction actually he kind of realizes how much Anakin means to him. And Anakin, who was sleeping at the time that he had this conversation, supposedly actually had a dream about Qui-Gon, so that was just kind of a nice little moment. Chapter 35. Obi-Wan is getting a bit restless, both because they are just getting kind of passed from mystery to mystery. They don't really get what's going on, and they have no time to like catch up and try to figure out what's going on. And also because Vergia left them a message. They find the message that she had to urgently leave to investigate a species that's yet unknown to the Jedi. So obviously it's this species that has been mentioned before in the beginning, the Yuuzhan Vong. Chapter 36. So yeah, we just learned that the Magister once separated the inhabitants into like people of the upper valley and the lower valley, and that those living in the lower parts, the Langesi, whatever, they were once enslaved people. That's just kind of their small backstory, I guess. Chapter 37. Yeah, so we learned that Kadave He also tried to acquire seed partners just like Obi-Wan and Anakin did, but he failed, of course. And Wraith still wants to give him time to somehow try and get a ship. And yeah, meanwhile, Ket, like the officer on the ship, and him, they all both speculate once again about the signs of battle on the planet and say that it could have been a preventative strike with some sort of weapon which nobody in the galaxy should even be able to use yet. Which of course makes it obvious, yeah, okay, it's wrong if you know that. Why are you showing?
I don't know. I was just going through.
Oh no, that Luke, fat Luke, that was fat Luke is a sight to behold. Yeah, and exactly, and yeah, then Wraith sends a message to Tarkin. He's just kind of telling how, one of Tarkin's men tried to kill him, and then he sent him out on a suicide mission and won't need his help because he knows that sending that message, of course, will cause Tarkin to immediately come to this place. And yeah, I guess I didn't know what his plan was supposed to be, but I was just like, okay, I'll wait. Chapter 38. Anakin and Obi-Wan, they are still present while the seed partners are being incinerated in the fire. It's kind of happening quite explicitly, like the scene where they don't really die. I guess they still live onwards, just in a different form. But it seems like they are dying, and it's pretty gruesome considering it's only little spheres that get incinerated there. And yeah, in that moment, an unknown voice speaks to Anakin about how at some point something similar will happen to him, which I guess made me wonder who exactly that was supposed to be. I wasn't it might have just been Zanama's secret in general. I guess it was. I don't know if anybody ever thought about who that possibly could have been, but yeah. Oh well. Chapter 39. Yeah, that entire occurrence, it shook Obi-Wan quite a bit emotionally. And Qui-Gon, in that moment, he whispers to him, telling him that he finally understands the spirit of adventure, like that this is kind of something that he's not used to, and this is a part of the whole thing. And he has a brief discussion with Anakin, where Anakin thinks about how Qui-Gon would have thought about adventure, whereas Obi-Wan sees it a bit more cynically, I guess. He just says, yeah, adventure just means that you don't plan ahead a lot, and it means that you're trained poorly and you're just kind of throwing yourself into situations that you're not ready for. And it was kind of funny that he very explicitly wanted to smack Anakin in the face for his words about trying to put words, I guess, into Qui-Gon's mouth. And he kind of wanted to just escape all the responsibilities of being a teacher to someone who is so open with his emotions all the time, like Anakin, which was kind of a nice moment, I guess, of weakness and reflection here from Obi-Wan, because yeah, it's still pretty early, like we're still in the early days of his life relatively, and we usually just get the lighthearted perspective from later on in their lives, where they kind of joke around and are friendly. So it was nice, I guess, to see doubts by him. Chapter 40. Yeah, Anakin and Obi-Wan, they're within the frame of the ship is kind of constructed already, and now it gets finished, and they are within that frame while it gets built. And yeah, because they are force sensitive, of course, and that whole planet is literally kind of living the experience once again is pretty intense. And yeah, Obi-Wan was so rattled by what he went through before that he's now afraid he'll never not be somehow afraid of his spirit. So he's just kind of afraid of being able to experience something like that. And it also extends into him being worried about Anakin, because the same kind of weakness also applies to him in a way, which I guess was just an interesting perspective. Chapter 41. Yeah, five of Wraith's droids attack Zonama Secret without his orders, which is leading him to speculate that Tarkin probably installed some subsystems or something into the droids that allows him to control them without Wraith agreeing to it, which makes sense for him to do. And he tells Cat to destroy the droids that have flown out, and to now they've been like passively scanning the planet, not trying to alert anybody to their presence, and now he's telling him to actively scan the planet while he immediately starts taking apart a droid that he has right next to him to see what Tarkin changed about them, which also makes sense for him to do. Chapter 42. Yeah, so the ship, Anakin and Obi-Wan's ship, is now finished, and it's basically kind of in an infancy phase. Even Obi-Wan, who used to be, as we learn, like a lot into spacecraft, he was as a kid, but kind of swapped that for a feeling of responsibility for like to the order that we then know from the movies. Even he's really impressed by the ship because it's a special kind of ship. They have a connection to it, so that's obvious. And yeah, that's when we learn that one client who's not named, but it's obvious that it's Kadave, has started rampaging, and that enemy ships are approaching the planet, which was obviously Wraith's ships that are now being controlled by Tarkin. And then a second fleet arrives, so that was Tarkin's actual fleet. And yes, so the inhabitants now assume that either they followed, like the fleets that are now approaching, the enemies that are approaching, either followed the Jedi there, or they actually led them there, which I guess is reasonable to believe. And yeah, then the actual attack happens by Kadave. So he appears. There is a scene where apparently he could kill Obi-Wan, but he won't do that because something, like, he just doesn't, I guess. Chapter 43. Yeah, so Anakin and Jabitha, so she's one of the young girls who's living on Zonama Secret, they are taken hostage, and they're forced to fly with Kadave, like in Anakin's and Obi-Wan's new ship, to fill it up with fuel and then get it back to Wraith. Of course, Anakin in that whole exchange feels a lot of anger, but he can't really do anything about it other than just feel the anger. Chapter 44. Yeah, so now Tarkin attacks. He assumes control of the entire operation again. And yeah, this mission was obviously always destined to be doomed for Wraith. And Tarkin, of course, pretends as though Wraith is the scapegoat for everything happening because that's the situation that he put him in. Chapter 45. Yeah, so we know that Vajia now, she arrived here as the quote, so they're called far outsiders here. They kind of arrived, I think, at the same time, and they were interested in the secrets of Zanama Secret, and Vajia joined these far outsiders. And as they tried to subjugate the planet, they apparently lost in some way, and then they were repelled. Yeah, I kind of, before reading this, I of course kind of heard about these things before when people spoke about this book, but it was still kind of need to figure it out, like as it's going on. Chapter 46. Yeah, so Tarkin now essentially he wants to subjugate the entire planet. He's speculating on whether the subterranean factories that are on Zanama Secret are there for some kind of uprising, which because I don't think that Zanama Secret is part of the New Republic, so they couldn't possibly rise up against them. But that's just what Tarkin does because he's evil, and he's not going to issue any warnings. He's just going to fire at them.
Did you say New Republic?
New Republic, yeah. They are all stupid, so I always think about the New Republic. Galactic Republic, of course. And Wraith even kind of feels pity for the planet. And yeah, I guess he was kind of surprised that the Senate would approve of something like this going on, even, which made him realize that apparently he's been out of the loop and he doesn't quite understand how they even function anymore. Yeah, I guess that's hard to believe when you see something like that. Chapter 47. Anakin tries to mind trick Kadave into releasing him, and it seems like at least for a moment he manages to kind of verbally manipulate him, but he lacks both the concentration and also the training to manage that. So he fails, which makes sense to me. Like, he shouldn't be able to do it this early on, so that makes sense. And yeah, then in the ship he manages to unlock a hidden message that's actually from the spheres, from the seed partners, and it's by Vergia. It's a message by Vergia confirming that she went with the Far Outsiders because they apparently were fascinated by her abilities, and they retreated from Zanama Secret. Which, yep, cool enough. I guess that was.
Who do you
not
think
to
the
say
Far
really.
Outsiders are?
And so it's a mystery. Who could they possibly be? I don't know. Chapter 48. And yeah, Obi-Wan, he talks to Sheppa. Sheppa is one of the Pharaohs from the planet about the attack of the Galactic Republic, something that Obi-Wan obviously wouldn't know about. And then they start talking about the potentium again, and it leads Obi-Wan to realize that a former Jedi, he's called Leor Hal, I guess, Leor Hal, was the first Magister of the planet, and he developed the ideology that every impulse that the Force gives you is inherently good because it's the Force, and that like desecrating anything about the Force by trying to teach about it is always inherently a bad idea. And that was kind of the potentium heresy that was rejected by the Jedi. And yeah, and exactly, considering that in the past chapters we kind of saw that it became more and more obvious that nobody actually saw the Magister for quite a while at this point. So Obi-Wan concludes that he must be dead, and he must have been dead for a while now at this point, which of course makes sense to believe. Chapter 49. And yeah, now back with Anakin, Jabitha, and Kadave, they return to the mountaintop where the palace of the Magister supposedly is, and where Anakin also was just a few days ago. But yeah, when they now that they see the palace, it's evident that it was destroyed by an attack. Like, it's just ruins left there, and yeah, so we kind of assumed that the far outsiders were kind of responsible for that, and that the existence of the Magister, like the existence of the Magister is now alive because, well, it's evident that he died in this attack. And Anakin, he now has an excuse to land. Actually, they land right next to the palace because the ships of the Galactic Republic, they're dropping mines into the atmosphere, which I think I understood that they are dropping further and further down below, and when they register a ship moving, that then it's like following them and destroying them. And he plans to somehow try and overwhelm Kadave, which makes sense. Chapter 15. Yeah, Obi-Wan, he realizes that he kind of needs to resist his very common urge to lecture everyone when he's in Shappa's presence, because Shappa is kind of he's distrustful of him, but he's still his ally, and he remembers Qui-Gon's lessons about not trying to be like he usually is, and Qui-Gon also gives him this lesson that Anakin now needs to the next chapter in Anakin's book needs to be like learned by himself. He needs to do it by himself. He needs to make the right choice without Obi-Wan's input, and he needs to trust in the Force, which at some point Anakin needs to do all these things, and that is now because Obi-Wan knows that Anakin is out there somewhere, but he can't help him directly. Exactly, and Obi-Wan usually wasn't the type of guy to just trust in the Force, especially he didn't after a Qui-Gon died. He instead committed himself to like hours of training because he kind of understands it in the way of the Force disappointed him, because why would the Force let his master die? I guess it was kind of nice to see Obi-Wan vulnerable in this way, which you do get sometimes, but I guess not as commonly. So it was kind of neat. And yeah, exactly. Chapter 51. So yeah, we learned that the reason that Kadave is even here with Tarkin is that he was exiled from his tribe, and he was living a life of dishonor, and we never knew why. So now we learn that it was prophesied within his tribe that the son of his adoptive father would die from very specifically from a head wound. So instead of being sent to battle, that actually never happened. His father tried to use his influence to keep him from battle, and he managed. And then during a hunt, Kadave, who was there to protect the son of his adopted father, he accidentally shot him, and then he was cast out. So I guess the backstory works fine enough. There you go. And yeah, Kadave, he just tried to kind of push Anakin, and Anakin, he kept getting angrier and angry about him. And when he called him a slave again, then Anakin just had a burst of power, and he seemed to explode beyond any of his control. And oh yeah, and I guess I'm not sure how, if I understood correctly, but I don't know literally what the unifying force is from the book, because I haven't read the book. The
Double
unifying
meaning.
force.
That's all I'm going to say.
What? I'm sorry.
It's a double meaning. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I can assume, but I guess I kind of got the feeling that Anakin might have had something similar to this happening here, because there was this mention of, quote, the desire to protect and the will to destroy became one, which, I mean, the desire to protect, I guess, sounds like a light side thing. The will to destroy kind of sounds like a dark side thing, and that is being made into one, and Anakin pushed that outwards. So to me, it sounded like it would be like what I imagine without knowing the background a unifying force would be. Whether that's true or not doesn't really matter. It was a nice scene anyway, I guess. Chapter 52. Yeah, Tarkin, he finds Anakin's ship, and he plans to take it away, because, I mean, that was his goal all along. Chapter 53. Obi-Wan just hopes that Anakin is well, and realizing, he kind of realizes in this moment that if he returns him and he is spiritually wounded by this whole experience, with the abilities that he has, that might actually be a worse fate for him than just returning him dead. And he even thinks that Qui-Gon probably would have agreed with that. Like, he would rather him be dead than be mentally scarred in some way, which is, I guess, kind of pretty serious subject matter for a book that seems pretty forgotten for the most part. So I kind of liked that Obi-Wan had such dark thoughts in a way. Chapter 54. Yeah, we see Kadave now after Anakin's attack, and yeah, we learned that the skin on his head and neck popped open, and he's bleeding heavily, and he can barely walk and talk at all, which is pretty gruesome. And he keeps saying something in his mother tongue, and Anakin just meanwhile begs him please to survive, because that wasn't what he wanted to do, obviously. And how him being Kadave just wanted to, he was just brave in the only way that he was taught to, and he had no the difference between him and Anakin being he had no Jedi Master who could possibly save him. He just was by himself. But in the end, Kadave dies, and Anakin kind of just screams in terror. which makes sense because I thought about this, and later Anakin even confirms that this is his first like face-to-face kill. I guess Phantom Menace doesn't quite count. This is like the first time he directly killed someone who was in front of him.
Yeah, you can see them dying out.
Exactly, yeah. In contrast to the Namodians, I guess, that he killed on the separatist ship. So yeah, like that whole chapter was like actually pretty gruesome, but in an understandable way and kind of nice. Like because some kill by Anakin needed to be his first, and I think that was pretty well done here. He reacts in a way that you would expect to for a child, like to be very horrified by that and not actually having intended to kill him. So there you go. Chapter 55. Jabitha, she went into the ruins of the palace, and Anakin started following her. And yet together they found the already decayed corpse of her father, so her father being the new Magister, and he held a ring that was provided to all Jedi students as a symbol. Like the ring on Zalama Seacot meant like a connection to this potentium, to this energy, but the ring actually is just a ring that is provided to every Jedi student. And then Anakin, like in the ruins of the palace, he meets a mysterious figure who has been the one sending all the messages from the Magister that they thought they saw. And he's also a friend of Gia. So the person that he's meeting is Zikot himself. Like it's the actual planet, I guess, in a personified way. Welcome back. Chapter 56. Tarkin, he still wants to take Anakin's ship, and he wants to kill everyone if necessary, without any care for possible losses. So he's just like, literally murder everybody on this planet. I don't care. I guess he doesn't want any witnesses to this. So sure, yeah. Chapter 57. So Zikot was convinced by the Magister to build weapons and to kill the far outsiders that tried to invade the place. He being the Magister believed that Zikot was the potentium and that he had power over everything. But Zikot actually says, no, I don't actually have power over literally everything. I have power over this world, and I'm just part of this world. And yet instead, so Vergia, of course, coming from the mainstream Jedi, was not convinced that everything like coming from the Force was good, unlike the Magister who followed this potentium thing. So she was actually much more to Zikot's liking because Zikot kind of feels and doesn't want to necessarily kill in the way that the Magister intended him to. And Anakin and Jabitha, they leave the palace again, only then for Tarkin to arrive. He lets Jabitha behind with the corpse of Kadave, and he takes Anakin and his ship with him. And this already made me kind of wonder, and the sad thing is we don't really get a resolution to this. I'm like, how could all of this like possibly not turn out bad in any way for Tarkin? Because like throughout this book, whenever he's present, like Obi-Wan and Anakin are actually fighting the Galactic Republic troops. Like they're directly in combat with them. So, and there's just no mention of that ever being a conflict or being resolved. So I guess it's just, well, it worked in a way. I don't know, but we just are kind of left behind with that. Chapter 58. Obi-Wan, he leaves Sheppa, he leaves him with Jabitha, and he actually, he fights the starfighters of the Galactic Republic on the ground. He's even managing to like barely deflect some of their shots with Qui-Gon's lightsaber, but the force of the shots, almost yanks the lightsaber out of his hand. Which I guess makes sense because I always wondered if they can just deflect blaster bolts. Like, how's it gonna be with ships? And I guess that Obi-Wan he doesn't really manage to deflect them directly. He just manages to block them, and it almost rips the lightsaber lightsaber out of his hand. So I guess that makes sense that it works that way. And yeah, Obi-Wan then gets saved by Karza. And yeah, as I said, this should be some big scandal that a Jedi is actually fighting against Galactic Republic troops officials. But yeah, it just kind of never happens, I guess. Chapter 59. Zikot has another conversation with Anakin, who's now in Tarkin's fleet. Tarkin still tries to kill everyone on the planet, so we get that the people on Zanaba Zikot might try to escape, and Zikot is going to try and destroy the fleet. That's what his goal was. But Zikot doesn't actually want to kill Anakin, who of course is in the fleet. But yeah, Anakin kind of understands, though. He's like, I understand that you need to defend yourself, even if I might die. So he kind of prepares. He at least it seems like he prepares for his own death, which was kind of interesting, considering he's that young and mature enough to understand it, especially now that he killed somebody. Chapter 60. Yeah, so Tarkin wants to go back to his ship, and he realizes that the performance that the army delivered there will require, like, it will be the argument for improvements, because obviously the way that they performed it, the army needs improvements, and he wants to be like, he wants to spearhead these improvements. And that's kind of seemed to be Palpatine's plan, I guess, to get the Galactic Republic into a conflict that makes it evident that they need to be able to defend
Start
themselves.
building up the army, yeah.
Yeah, and like deliver a direct justification of why they would even need one, which makes sense. I guess it just does make sense that, yeah, the Jedi are directly involved in this as well, and I assume they would be opposed to that. Like, hey, wait, this guy actually tried to kill us. Isn't that a bit fucked up? But it just never gets mentioned again. But yeah, exactly. So there you go. Chapter 61. Yeah, Obi-Wan, he very obviously does not care for his allegiance to the Galactic Republic right now. He just wants to go to the fleet of Tarkin and save Anakin. And yeah, like they try to, I guess they try to, like, that's the plan of Tarkin, to pin all of this that's happening right now to the restructuring of the Trade Federation, to like be, there's rogue factions within the Trade Federation who do not want to be assimilated into the Galactic Republic military, and they did this as, I guess, some form of rebellion in a way. But like Anakin has clearly seen Tarkin there, so I don't understand why they would believe that if, like, it's not the Trade Federation, it's literally Tarkin, like he's part of the Galactic Republic. But yeah, that just it is as it is. Chapter 62. Yeah, we get a scene that I couldn't quite understand. So Anakin's inner voice is talking to him, and he's like telling him about Wraith and Tarkin, and the inner voice is apparently of his older self, which I wasn't sure what that meant exactly. Maybe just, yeah, I don't know, the voices in his head or something, or maybe adult Anakin was flow walking back in time. No, who knows? Maybe it was intended all along to be a part of the EU. Yeah, so Tarkin tries to interrogate Anakin, who is stubborn, and he was actually like pretty close to try and kill Tarkin the same way that he killed Kadave, which I guess was kind of crazy to think about how differently things might have been if that actually happened, because it was clear that he was very close to do it. But yeah, and then Obi-Wan's there. He rescues him, and then they try to fuel up the ship and fly away. Chapter 63. Tarkin and Wraith, they escape in an escape capsule, and Tarkin just gives the order to literally destroy everything, including the ship that Anakin and Obi-Wan are still on. and also the inhabitants of the planet. Chapter 64. Yes, so Karza is still there. He dropped explosives at the hangar gates, so Obi-Wan and Anakin get to escape out of there. Chapter 65. A gigantic. I wasn't quite sure, like a gigantic ship, or it might have been the whole planet. Like, so anyway, like Zikot literally escapes. So the whole thing is controlled by Zikot. I'm not sure if it was a giant ship that was built into the planet or literally the entire planet, actually. But yeah, it launches from the planet into like an just unknown part of space. We don't know where they go. And Anakin and Obi-Wan are also now trying to flee. I assume to Coruscant, but they actually go somewhere else. Chapter 66. Yeah, Obi-Wan sends the ship to a Jedi outpost that's only like known to them, and he asks specifically for Mace and Thracia to be there with them. While they're flying, Anakin names the ship the Jabitha, but he realizes that the ship, like in that big explosion that happened, when the ship was destroyed by Tarkin, actually suffered so much damage that it was now about to die. And while Anakin is obviously sad about it, he's trying to hold it in and kind of be a bit stoic about it. And Obi-Wan is impressed how relatively well Anakin managed to process that information. Chapter 67. So yeah, Thracia is there at the outpost. It's called Selene, I guess. Yes, Selene maybe. And they are there to Anakin's getting healed there by Thracia, and the Jabitha is dying, so the ship is done for. And then after that happens, we kind of get like a summary, I guess, like a post-book summary about where everyone is afterwards. So we learn that no ships are built from Zikot anymore, and within years, all of them, like all of the ones that have been built, will be dead, which was kind of sad, I guess. I'm just like, oh well, yeah, that's kind of sad. But I did wonder, like, did the settlers that were on the planet survive? Are they living somewhere? Which I guess I might find out in NJO. Like what
Yeah,
happened?
the planet can move, so it moved
okay.
away.
So the entire planet, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I guess I'll learn someday. Just have to be patient. And yeah, so the only resolution to that Tarkin plotline is that he rehabilitated himself in front of Palpatine, and he himself monopolized the construction of the Death Star, with Wraith remaining there. And I thought that resolution was kind of lazy and not quite believable, because that whole thing, considering Anakin knows he has literally seen Tarkin, and he would know who Tarkin is, obviously. They met before. I think there would be more consequence to that are just kind of glossed over to not make any problems in the universe. Yeah, it's just kind of left that way. So, oh well, it is what it is. And yeah, then we learn that Karza, he's still there. He is gonna be a pirate, or I guess a privateer against the Empire later on. And yeah, Thracia, after successfully healing Anakin, just left the Jedi Order without an explanation, which I guess was kind of interesting. I would like to know why she left, but I assume there's no real reasoning given. It's just it just happened. And that's it. That was the entire book. Yeah, what can I say? I think
It's pretty straightforward book, I think.
it
Not
is
much
mostly pretty
comment
straightforward.
on.
Yeah, like things are happening. They're kind of logical most of the time. I think there are
What an
some.
idea there.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? You can't do that. I think, yeah, like sometimes I think there should have been more explanations. It could have been a bit faster sometimes, but it's really fine. Like the book is not long.
Faster,
Yeah,
more intense.
faster, more intense. No, but like if you read this book, you're gonna be through with it pretty quickly. I think it's nice overall. I said like somewhere around 6 to 7 out of 10. I'm not sure what precisely I would give it. Maybe Pico, did you give it anything out of 10?
I gave it a 6.5, but I can go up
Six-
or down. I'm not
Yeah, I
married
think
to that.
6.5. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it has some problems. It's not always the most interesting read. A lot of things are just kind of happening. Maybe they don't have too many connections to what's going on right now, like the whole story. But yeah, it's a nice book. Like you may as well read it. If you don't, that's also not too bad. But I think it's competent enough to give it a shot, I guess. I wouldn't say that it is necessarily for NJO, but I guess specifically for the topic of NJO, it might be one of the more relevant ones because there is like an actual literal connection to what's happening. It's the prologue, kind of. So yeah, there you go. I really don't think I have anything else to say here. So that was it. Yeah. Noah, do you have anything to add about Rogue Planet?
It was pretty boring, but it's okay.
That's fine.
I understand that. Yeah, maybe you might not be too excited about it, and that's understandable. But yeah, it's fine. It's a good, okay book. Yeah. So that's really it. I have nothing more to add here. I think we're done. So yeah, as I said, next week I'll be on vacation probably. Not probably. I will be on vacation, so there won't be a stream then. And then the week afterwards, probably on Saturday again, we'll speak about Vector Prime. Finally, we're there, and we can speak about the book that I kind of wanted to speak about, like for I don't know, more
Over a
than
year
18
now.
months. Yeah, like that was always kind of the point. And yeah, well,
And instead, you wasted your time with the Bantam era.
yeah, I don't know when I'll do. I might wait till I'm done with NGO. I need to speak about like the essential reading thing, like some video probably, because yeah, it needs to be talked about. But yeah, so in 2 weeks, probably on Saturday, we'll speak about Vector Prime, and that's it really. I have nothing more to add. So thanks for listening and have a nice day. Bye-bye.